Okay, hello, can we start? Yeah. Привіт всім, рада всіх вітати на цій події.
Hello everyone, I'm very happy to welcome everyone at this event. My name is Maria Grishenko. I'm going to be the moderator of this event.
Today I will be the moderator of this event. My name is Maria Grishenko. I'm a sociologist. I'm represent here the NGO Center of Urban Studies. And thank you very much for that for you that you decided to spend several hours discussing the issue of the role of universities in the city and how can we cooperate, how academia can cooperate with civil society. This event is organized by CEDOS and European University, Viadrina, Frankfurt and Oder, and it's the part of the project Ukrainian Calling, cross-sectoral capacity building. And I'm really glad that I also took part in this program. And so I also if you are interested in the cooperation with Germany, Belarus, and Ukraine, please next time apply for this program. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to develop the cooperation. And first of all, I would like to say who will be presented here. And today we have Susann Worschech. She's also a social scientist from European University Viadrina. We have Yulia Kharchuk and Dmytro, the representatives of Ostroh Academy from Ukraine, and Anna Fiedler, she's representative of Adam Mickiewicz University from Poland. And today we will have short presentations of experience from our participants, and then you will have opportunity to ask your questions, and we will have, I think, wonderful discussion. And first of all, I would like to give a floor to Stefan Henkel, who's representative of the Viadrina University and this program, Ukraine Calling. Please, Stefan.
Yeah, dear Maria, dear everybody. Yeah, it's a really great pleasure to see so many people interested in the topic because it's quite an urgent one, I would say, that we are facing so many societal challenges we cannot ignore as actors coming from academia. And that's why I'm very happy to see so many people here. I'm working at European University Viadrina at the intersection of academia and civil society, being in charge of projects that try to connect those both realms. And yeah, long story short, enjoy the evening here, and I'm very glad to give the word to Olena Sirbu from CEDOS, our partner organization here in the project Ukraine Calling.
Thank you, Stefan. I will be very short, and I'm very great that this discussion is happening today. And this is actually the second panel discussion that we are organizing as a partner of Ukraine Calling project. Actually, we already had the discussion about regional policy and decentralization, and we also had an article which was written by our analyst Yulia and Pavlo Fedoriev, also about the regional policies in Ukraine and the local development in this context. Also, we had already international networking and masterclass about urban social movements. So this event also would be the part of the public program of the project Ukraine Calling. So I also wish you a great and fruitful discussion today, and I will pass the word back to Maria Grishenko.
Thank you. We're glad that we get so many people who would like to join our discussion, and I think that it's really great. And I am really happy to see here representatives from academia, from universities, representatives from municipals and civil society organizations. I think that it's a really important first step to start this discussion about cooperation. So we will talk about what the role of universities today in cities, and do we need in what form we need the cooperation of academia, city, and local NGOs, and how we can empower each other in this cooperation. So I would like to ask our colleagues to share their experience to start our discussion. So Susann, Worschech, the floor is yours. We are expecting for your experience from Viadrina and Frankfurt and Oder.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Thank you for having me here. I'm very happy to speak a little bit about, well, what I am doing at the Viadrina and in Frankfurt Oder. So what I want to present to you today is not a rather scientific or academic presentation on what universities can do or what the role of knowledge systems, etc., could be. But I just want to talk a little bit about my experience, because what I did in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years are several project seminars which I offered my students and which I developed together with the city of Frankfurt Oder. And there are several points that could be interesting for the question of how universities can contribute to local development, in particular in cities that are maybe not the metropolitan areas and that are not at the center of a country or at the center of attraction, but that are a little bit peripheral. So Frankfurt Oder is always in the shadow of Berlin and of other larger cities. It's somewhere in the nowhere between Berlin and Poznan, and therefore we are a university in the peripheries. And maybe cities like, I mean, if you look at universities in cities like Cologne or Berlin or Hamburg or whatever, these are huge universities with excellent staff, excellent academia, but maybe their impact is not the same as the impact in, for example, Ostroh could be, a city which I like very much, by the way, and a university which I like also, which really impressed me when I was there a few years ago. So, okay, what can we do, or what did we do would be the first part of my short presentation or input, and then what are general functions or roles of universities in local development is the second part. So first, my experiences are, or what I would like to tell you about is 2 seminars which I did together with my students and the cities. These are 2 project seminars, one on local participation, it was exactly that name. And it was developed out of the question, or just a talk which I had together with the city administration. They asked me whether I could contribute something to their cultural development plan here in Frankfurt Oder, and I found that this is an interesting topic. So culture and development of culture and the provision of sort of cultural infrastructure of offers in a small city like Frankfurt Oder is something that is important, but it's equally difficult. And Frankfurt Oder at that point tried to develop a plan for the next 5 or 6 years or so for their cultural development, and asked me whether I could support that. And I offered, okay, I would like to support it, but together with my students, and we will see what we can, which kinds of support we could provide, which ideas we could provide for local cultural development here in Frankfurt Oder. And we started this project seminar with a small discussion with representatives from the city. Students found that extremely interesting because, well, usually you start a seminar with syllabus and with all the readings and you ask who will present which book and which text and so on. And then, but in this seminar, we had to start together with the city, and students were asking the city representatives about their ideas. What is culture? What is culture in Frankfurt Oder? Why do you want to develop that? Who supports it? What is the budget for this? And so on. And so that it was from the very first moment, very, very practical. And students were extremely interested in these answers and in the way the city administration representatives were dealing with this task of developing culture. And then we tried to have a continuous discussion with the city, and we were elaborating ideas of how the city could bring people together here in Frankfurt Oder to develop this cultural plan together. They were developing surveys and we're asking, for example, the school children what they wish or which cultural processes or which culture points, which meeting points they would like to develop. So what is missing in Frankfurt, what would they like to have here? And out of these surveys, my students were writing some ideas of how youth or children, for example, expect the city to provide them cultural offers. Then we were also talking about participation formats such as planning cells and other things to develop a cultural plan for Frankfurt Oder together with the population. My second seminar is a bit larger, and it is also a close cooperation with the clear task of providing a report to the city. So the first seminar was rather interesting for the students, but we didn't really provide a clear plan to the city of Frankfurt Oder. It was just sort of monitoring and then cooperation. But now in the second seminar, we are providing a project report that will contribute to the smart city development in Frankfurt Oder. And smart city is, probably you know that, the idea of connecting infrastructure, technical issues, and citizens to not only to digitalize processes in the city, but also to make life in the city more comfortable. And the smart city process has just started in Frankfurt, I think last year, with a small working group at the city administration. And together with my students, I did qualitative expert interviews with several stakeholders in the city of Frankfurt Oder about their ideas. What do they expect from a digitalization process? What is the state of the art at the moment? What are their problems, and so on? And what do they wish to have? For example, Wi-Fi everywhere in the city, free Wi-Fi, then several participation formats that are digital, and so on. And at the moment, we launched, 2 weeks ago, we launched an ongoing survey, an online survey, where people from Frankfurt are invited to tell us their ideas about the smart city concept. So this will still be open, the survey, until December, and then we will write a report and just consult the city in their smart city development strategy. So these are my two experiences, and the cooperation with the city is extremely fruitful. It is sometimes more difficult to focus my seminar group on the issue that it is still a seminar and not only a consultation process for the city. So sometimes coming back to what are methods, what are theories, how do we combine that, and so on, is the more difficult part than doing a good survey and asking people to fill in the survey. But however, what is extremely interesting for the students is that they have this practical approach to the city development in different realms. And of course, for the city, it is always fruitful to have this cooperation with students and scholars who may just share their knowledge and their ideas, who do this consultation process for free, of course. And therefore, it is for both sides an interesting process. Well, when we go a little step back and asked ourselves, okay, what might be functions or roles of universities in these local development processes? I would argue there are 4 main functions of universities in local development. First, in particular, for small cities in the periphery, as it is the case for Frankfurt Oder, university is always something like the city's flagship. So again, in Berlin or Cologne, I mean, there are universities, and it's nice. Of course, they are there, but there are so many other things that are also interesting and important and big and so on. In Frankfurt Oder, it is the university, which is really a huge institution here, and reputable institution, sometimes an institution that doesn't go along with, well, the citizens' habits, because it's not on everyone's or not in everyone's daily routines to go to university. But anyway, it is still an important part of the city's identity. So it's a sort of added value of a city, and also in the awareness of the existence of this city. So Frankfurt Oder is very often associated, just thought together and brought together with the Viadrina. It is pretty well known for that. I think it wouldn't be as famous, popular without the Viadrina as an important university. Then second, a role of universities in small cities, or maybe also an asset, is that in particular in peripheral regions, universities are really, universities use those familiar atmosphere in small cities for their own construction. So there are universities of short ways. There are smaller universities, and it is a value added for students that connections are really close, that there are not so many students, there are many scholars who have more time, etc. So this relation is clearer and smaller and more familiar in smaller cities in the peripheral regions. And I would say it is just an advantage for small universities in small cities, so they can have a more practical orientation, because projects are easier to implement together with the city administration, etc., than it is the case in bigger cities. So from that side, also the universities do profit from this cooperation between small cities and their highlighted universities, because things are just closer, smaller, more familiar. Then third point, and maybe this is the second important, universities are local consultation and project management agencies for small cities, and in particular in urban development processes. So universities are maybe the most relevant consultation and support agencies. They share their knowledge and methods, resources with local administrations, with local stakeholders. Both sides benefit from the short link cooperation. So short link cooperation just means that there are close agreements and intensive cooperation between university actors and urban stakeholders. So projects are easy to realize, communication ways are really short, and this is important, the level of mutual trust is often much higher than in larger cities and in larger universities. So also the implementation of participative approaches, like for example, citizen councils, planning cells, or deliberative polling, whatever you want to try to get people into an urban development process, is much easier at a smaller or peripheral city with a smaller university that can consult here, because things are much easier to realize. And even if you fail, if things go wrong, it's not such a huge problem, because due to the close cooperation and the mutual trust, it's much easier to see where you can just shift things or change the project and so on. And so the fourth and last, and I would say most important function for local development is, once again, in particular in peripheral regions, the spillover effect from the seminar to the streets, or from the seminar room to civil society organizations. So I would argue, and this is also what I could observe here in Frankfurt, that it is a very short way from the seminar room, where students are occupied with the problems of a city, with city development, with urban development strategies, with their ideas, with just supporting this small city in developing something, and then to go to an association, to be part, to participate in these local development processes after the end of the seminar. So once the course is over, people are still interested in what happens here. Will it still be, or do we still have a cultural development plan? What is going on with the smart city idea in Frankfurt Oder? So people start to get engaged, they participate in all these processes, and they continue to be part of the civil society of a city. Maybe they stay here, but even if they don't, they just bring their input, their ideas, their activism. And I would say that having a course that sort of prepares later civil society activists and participants and just gives them knowledge and ideas and methods on the hands. So this is a very important aspect for a university for supporting not only the city development or the local development, but also those groups who are capable of enforcing local development in the long run. So that is a sustainable approach, and hopefully it works. But my experience is rather positive on that. And so I would say out of these 4 functions, small ways, then the flagship, then local consultation, and the spillover aspect, I would say that spillover is the most important contribution of universities to local development. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Susann, for sharing your experience and your ideas about the role of university. And also, I know that a European university, Viadrina University, is a really important actor in Frankfurt Oder, and also I know that now you established even the department for this cooperation with the university and the municipal, and I think that it also can be interesting case and example for other towns that have a university. And now I would like to give a floor for our guest from the Ostroh Academia to Yulia Kharchuk. She's associated professor and assistant rector of National University of Ostroh Academia for Educational Management, and to Dmytro Shevchuk. He is a professor and vice-rector for scientific and pedagogical work of the National University of Ostroh Academia. And what also I think that is important to say, that we are hope that we could cooperate more with Ostroh Academia, and we started the process of planning the common school on the role of universities in the towns, and we started to cooperate with the Institute of Humanitarian Sciences. And I think that it also can be a wonderful example of such cooperation with the NGOs and university and the city. So the floor is yours. Please share with us your experience in this cooperation with the municipal and the role of universities. And what I also need to say to our participant, that if you have questions, please you can write it in the chat, or if you're watching us through Facebook, you also can write your questions in a comment to our translation. So Yulia and Dmytro, please, the floor is yours.
Дякуємо. Пане Дмитро, розпочнете?
Thank you so much, Dmytro. Will you start? Okay, I will start. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here. We are grateful to organizers of this wonderful event, because cooperation with cities and universities is one of the key priorities. That's exactly what we do at the National University Ostroh Academy. I would like to ask our participants, do you see my presentation? Yes, everything is okay. So we called our presentation City and University Strategic Cooperation. Our presentation will be split into two parts. In the first one, I will tell about our project to intensify cooperation between the city and the university. And in the second part, I will give it over to Yulia, my colleague from the Ostroh Academy. Yulia will tell you how the Ostroh Academy cares for the current amalgamated territorial communities by organizing trainings for them. So we shall start at that Ostroh, a small town with 15,000 inhabitants. If you just saw this town at the beginning of the 1990s, you would understand that no one believed that it is possible to create a university there. However, 445 hours in this city, the history of the higher education in Ukraine started because the Ostroh Academy was founded by Duke Ostrovsky. Famous intellectuals from all over Europe came here, and the first university, as we see it now, was created there, Ostroh Academy. In 1994, Ostroh has seen the creation of a university. Why do I tell this story? Because if you took a look at our city in 1995 and in 2022, you wouldn't recognize the city and the university itself. Because this cooperation between the city and the university, this mutual understanding that a university is not just a secondary school, is not educational establishment, but this is a community which can create special ecosystem. This is what made possible this powerful transformation of the city and the university. However, we know that this cooperation needs to be developed. It needs to be intensified, because we can say that there is some kind of dissonance. In order to develop, to improve this cooperation, our colleagues and I to improve the communication, the cooperation between the city and the university. Thanks to Visegrad Fund, we have launched a program which is called Town and Gown 2.0, strategic cooperation between university and city in Visegrad countries and Ukraine. Thanks to this project, we are carrying out two tasks. The first one is to use positive experience and positive cases from 3 countries of Visegrad Group, Poland, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic. We try to use the experience of our partners to try and implement it in local life. What is important to us, it is important for us to implement it in Ostroh. However, this project encompasses 3 cities and 3 universities, Ostroh, Rivne, and Lutsk. Consequently, we have additional tasks that we carry out thanks to this project. We want to use the potential of our universities and our cities to intensify development of the entire region. So our project, on one hand, it uses positive experience of the Visegrad Fund, but on the other hand, we try to integrate between each other when it comes to internal and external cooperation between the city and the authorities between different cities.
I was one of the initiators of this project, and I had this idea for a long time, and I had this name, Town and Gown 2.0. It was kind of a relaunch of cooperation between the city and the university. And this project, as I see it, it was my idea that there should be 2 participants, always university and city authorities, and together they will create the working group that will take part in seminars and workshops dedicated to the cooperation between city and university and experience of change with the Visegrad group, and they would integrate with each other to implement the project. So what are the impact of this project? What is the influence? Yes, we have more close cooperation between the city and university. And if you come to Ostroh, you will see that it's the very good city to create something like academic city, as we call it. Academia, if you will see it, the reports academia is one of the biggest taxpayers. They intensify the economical processes in the city. They attract talented young people. They create, as Susanna mentioned, this circle of intellectuals that invest, that are engaged in cultural and social development of the city. And amalgamated territorial communities, including Ostroh community, create their own strategies. And Ostroh Academy in 2017 has created the strategy called Ostroh Academy 450. And among our priorities and values, we stated the social mission. So this is to help our city and our community, and we have a separate paragraph, university and city, and we, in this part, we implement the ideas of cooperation of the city and the university. And now the community of Ostroh city, they develop their strategy, and representatives of the university take part, trying to synchronize the strategy of university and city to ensure the common path. Also, we lay down the basis for future projects. At this project now we have 14 participants, 3 Ukrainian cities, so Ostroh, Lutsk, and Rivne, and the respective universities in these cities. And except for this, we have a positive, we observed positive experience from our international partners, Lublin, Košice, Banska Bystrica, Zlina, Ustina, Glabe, who visited us and shared their experience with us. We organized 3 events within this project, a workshop in Ostroh, where the participants from Lublin shared the experience of how they create the smart academic city and how the strategy is coherent with the strategy of university. Workshop in Lutsk about the safe space for studying and teaching, and it's very important for modern Ukraine, taking into account the Russian aggression. And in Rivne, we discussed the creative cluster, because our partners have the experience in creation of cultural clusters, and the future event is an international conference, and we are happy to invite everybody. And you can ask for my contacts from organizers, and you feel free to approach me regarding this. Also, we want to engage students in some kind of hackathon where they could present their projects and their vision on how city and university could cooperate. Moreover, of course, the grant of Visegrad Fund gave us funding for the events that I have announced, but we decided not to stop at this. And now we are holding TNG 0.2 talks, and we invite speakers and experts from Ukraine who work in the subject of university and city cooperation, or our representatives from our partners, to continue this discussion about how we can intensify the cooperation between city and university. And the first outcomes of this project is that university and cities entered into more intensive discussion. There were integration took place during the workshops, and we plan to organize roundtables and provide the platforms that will act on a permanent basis to further develop cooperation between city and university. Here you can see my contacts. I'm the coordinator of this project. I invite you to visit our web page. And this is my email. You may be interested to join as a speaker, or maybe you want to join as a participant of the conference. We will be happy to invite you. And I give floor to my colleague Yulia. Thank you very much, Dmytro. We are very happy and to be here. We're very grateful for the invitation. And to follow up what Dmytro said, I would like to say that, yeah, indeed, the population of Ostroh is 15,000 and 6,000 of them are youth, and further 3,000 of them are the students of Ostroh Academy. So with the mathematical calculation, you can easily see that cooperation with young people could be really fruitful. Our university, starting from 2019, started to establish more intensive cooperation with city councils, and in the process of decentralization, when the amalgamated territorial communities were created, we started to develop the additional cooperation areas. So the areas we work in is the development of the strategy of the territorial communities, and now we've worked with strategies for city of Ostroh and city of Netyshin. It's this city in village, it's a town in Netyshin region, not far from Ostroh. It's a very interesting city. There is a nuclear power plant, and there is funding, and the city is developing rapidly, and the strategy of development is very intensive. We work on the excellence of the representatives of the communities, and this could be short or long-term educational programs from 3 to 6 months and up to 1 month. Also, we do the representative of the interests of the local authorities in courts. If something happens, our law school and the teachers of our law department, who are not only teachers but strong practitioners, and they also work in courts of different levels, they can help and give consultation. Also, we do the expert reports and conclusions in the field of law. Also, I would ask my colleague to go to the next slide. Here, I would like to tell about those training seminars and master classes that we were able to hold with the participants from all over Ukraine. Of course, we're more concentrated on our territorial community, but when we do an announcement for our events, there are participants from other regions who want to join, and we are happy to join them as well. We were talking about the development of territorial community, legal and economical aspects. And during our cooperation with the representatives of local authorities, we saw that there is one very important topic. It is the project activity or project management. And Susanna also mentioned this. It is very important for the development of territorial communities. Also, we held this seminar on the project management. And we had the representatives not only from Rivne and Khmelnytsk region, but also from Volynsk, Ternopilsk, and Dnipro region. Ostroh has a very interesting history. It is a small city, but touristically attractive, very rich. And I'm not sure whether you know it or not, and with the permission of Mr. Yuri, the head of our territorial community, and our youth council headed by Esther Materiani, our ex-student, I would like to say that in 2022, or namely 2021, Ostroh has become the youth capital of Ukraine. And this title gave us the possibility to prove how important the good quality cooperation is. Cooperation and interaction not only between local authorities and universities, but as is, but also when they clearly understand their targets and they understand what they want to achieve. And when we were presenting this project at the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, among the speakers were presenting the plan of development of the youth capital of Ukraine. There were the representatives of local self-governing of different levels and the heads of the project and innovation department and the students of the university. In the local authorities of our territorial community, the people who are working in different local authorities institutions in our community are mostly the people who graduated from Ostroh Academy, and that's why it's very easy for us to cooperate with local authorities, because these people share the common values with us. And for the celebration of 445th anniversary of Ostroh Academy, we have foreseen some events that would allow us to improve these connections. And now we have some other projects with our colleague from Rivne Regional Councils. This will be a training on conflict solving and media literacy. So if you are interested in this, please follow our web page, social media pages. We continue to work on the inquiries of our colleagues and develop different areas of cooperation. Our target is to educate young people starting from school, and we implement the project together with the local authorities again. It's the research project, social initiatives of youth for the community. What is peculiar about this project, that the scientific projects should have some applicable sense for the community. They should be useful for the community where they are implemented. And this is a project that are implemented by the school children, and they are supervised by the students and teachers, school teachers. And we started from Rivne region from 2017, and now we have engaged the school children from Volynsk, Ternopilska, Khmelnytska, Zhytomyrska regions, and we work in such areas as public health, economics, history, international relations, journalism, Ukrainian and foreign philology, and others. And we are very happy to see that the works of the students became more and more practical, and young people get interested to create different projects that could be implemented in their territorial communities.
This is also the opportunity to think of something new, to have your own idea, which you can implement later with the help of the university, with the help of the local authorities, and implemented in the nearest future. They feel this support on behalf of the local government and their teachers. So these are the key aspects that we would like to tell you about together with Dmytro. Organizers have our contacts. We will be very happy if our cooperation will develop and improve in those areas. And last but not least, our last slide, let me ask Dmytro to show you this, the motto of our university is tradition which creates the future. We have a glorious history starting from 1556. Today, our university celebrates 445 years, and every day we prove that the Ostroh Academy is about tradition that creates the future. Thank you so much for your attention. Can I add to that, please? Well, you know what inspires us. Recently, I talked to my students at a seminar. We were discussing a university city topic because Ostroh is becoming a university city. One of my students said, my dream is, for example, when you go out from the university, go to a shop and the shopkeeper asks, have you already finished your seminars discussing Heidegger? Or have you already finished your course in cultural anthropology? And it will mean that our city will truly become a university city. It seems to me that our city is developing in this direction because we have all the necessary preconditions. Unfortunately, now we have lockdown. So when you come to Ostroh, you see that it is almost empty because a lot of students have left their temporary student residences and went to their parents. So our city is quite empty now. Thank you so much, Dmytro. Thank you so much, Yulia, for your presentation. Thank you for sharing your experience. I hope that within the nearest future, our cities will once again full of students, will be bustling with life. And we are all waiting for that, as well as our inhabitants and students.
Sharing your experience, and I think that it's a really great experience of cooperation between university and municipal, and on the one hand it's a great example of cooperation in the strategic development, but on the other hand it's a great example of realization of educational programs for empowerment and strengthening of our Hromadas. And yeah, thank you for sharing. I would like to say, I see your hands rising, but we will have time for questioning after the presentation. So if you have a question, you can write down it in the chat or waiting for the time for questions. Yeah, so I would like to ask Anna Fiedler, the coordinator of the Science Shop and co-author of the DIALOG project and the initiatives supporting the third mission of Adam Mickiewicz University from Poznan, Poland, to share your experience and tell us about cooperation between a university and a city. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you for the invitation. And it was really interesting to listen to your stories, Susanna, Dmitry, and Yulia. It was very inspiring. Thank you for this. And now I would like to share some of our experience as AMU, Adam Mickiewicz University, which is quite a big university, an important player in the region, mainly. But listening to Susann, I thought it's sometimes easier to be such a smaller university, as you told, in more family atmosphere, and the impact is more visible, I think, than being a bigger player. So now I'd like to, do you see my presentation? Okay, great.
Yes, it's.
Okay, great. So engaged AMU, we started actually as a bottom-up movement, really. When we gained our independence, it was the fathers, we had mainly fathers of the university, started it as a kind of a social initiative. So we have the tradition of engagement, we can say, in our blood. But as it is very important recently, and all flag universities of the world, they emphasize their engagement and their mutual partnerships with the external stakeholders, we also do as much as possible to catch up the trend and to be in. So we have this cooperation with not only the city and the municipality, but generally with other external stakeholders and partners in various areas and various fields in education, because we have each faculty, we have 20 faculties at our university. They have, most of them, they have such councils consisting of employers, for example, or former alumni, that they give advice on study programs to make them responsive to employers and societal needs. We have study visits, and as you, Yulia and Dmytro, told the examples that people, experts from come to classes and share their experience also. This is very common. Research, we also try to involve external stakeholders in research initiatives of, I think it's common problem that engaged and applied research is mainly in this STEAM subjects like natural science, math, informatics. It's more represented, and the social it's less. But we also try to develop it. We have examples of citizen science. So citizen science is in such research that is done together with people who are not researchers. They collect data about, let's say, birds or observations of the sky. So we try to involve, let's say, normal people in the research that is done at our university. And of course, third mission, each university has this third mission pillar. There's a huge variety of initiatives. They are not centrally oriented, but they take place at each of faculties, and very often they are bottom-up initiatives taken by particular researchers, for example. This is like Susanna said, this is about creating cultural program for the city, about making, for example, some examinations of eye at optometry. So we have, there are some festivals, courses, so really quite a huge and impressive variety of initiatives. What I'd like today to share with you, as it was told at the beginning, I am project manager and I was science shop coordinator at our university, and generally I try to implement projects that do with social engagements, and they have something in common. But I am also president of an NGO, Key for Tomorrow, so it gives me the other perspective. So I represent, on the one hand, I represent the university, but on the other, I can understand the way the NGOs function and what are their needs and what are their challenges. So we had two projects that are good for, I think they are nice to share some experience about with you. One was called DIALOG project, and it was to, the idea of this project was to build such a platform of cooperation between university and external stakeholders to create a kind of mental and real space to cooperate. But what is important, to diagnose the needs of our partners, because very often people and organizations and institutions, they don't know how to find proper people at the university, how to get to this researchers they really need for their questions. So this is a challenge, but also university, I don't know if you agree with me, the other speakers, but also the university is very often not aware what challenges and problems their external partners have. And this is about creating the platform, the connections, how they can mutually share this, looking for solutions with finding proper people at the university, especially as we are quite a big university, and to find a proper person is not always easy. So the DIALOG project was about this. We had a series of workshops. Maria, you wanted to ask a question? we have a series of workshops where we invited people from municipality, people from NGOs, from different institutions, also cultural, and we tried to diagnose the fields that university could be helpful in. So, and it worked really, really good. Then we also, within this project, we have a big international conference about responsible research and innovations. So we brought together people from Polish universities, from European institutions, not only universities, and we had a series of workshops and seminars, how universities can get engaged and to realize this idea of engaged responsible universities. What was also very interesting and needs developing now, then the pandemic broke it a bit, was we organized first Festival of Social Innovations. That was a big initiative. We invited organizations and schools and generally people, local communities to participate, and our teachers, our researchers, and our students too, they prepared a series of workshops that were open to community, but also we created space that organizations and NGOs and municipalities, they came and they had their stands and they could present their profiles of their activity and to network, because being engaged and being socially involved it's all about networking, actually, to know people, to know who to address, who to call, who to mail, who to invite. So it was really a big space of networking, meeting each other and getting known to each other. But what also was organized was Changemaker Marathon. We invited students not only from our university, but generally from universities of our city to present their projects that were addressing some social challenges. And it was really nice to look how these young people were active in different fields, in social exclusion, in promoting understanding of disabilities, to fight sexual abuse. They had different projects, how to create better space for disabled people. So very interesting initiatives, and they were presenting again, and the special jury awarded them. So it was also such a new initiative, and it is definitely worth continuing. What was also kind of added value in the project, that as I told you at the beginning, we're quite a big university, and very often people at particular faculties don't know exactly what is going on in other faculties, in their neighbors. So people from our university, thanks to the project, got to know to each other, so they could continue their cooperation and some projects together. It was kind of added value. Another project I would like to talk to you about and to present today is a science shop. Science shop sounds maybe a bit weird, the name, but it's not a shop. It's not like shops in museums, but it's about sharing knowledge and to exchange knowledge that is created at the university with experience and practice that is present in at our partners, many NGOs. The idea is quite simple, that it's about actually being socially useful. At university, students, the research is done also at the level of students, because they prepare their projects, they prepare their thesis, but very often it is not responsive to some societal needs. It is done because young people very often don't know actually what could their projects be about, and they have no ideas. And on the other end, we have NGOs, for example, and other social institutions that they don't have big budgets for research, and they need kind of research or help from universities. So the idea of Science Shop is to connect those endings of the stick to get students who do their research and some research needs that are in the society, and to connect them. Students So we invited also organizations. We had, I think, 40 organizations at the workshops, and we asked them about the problems or challenges they have, and that we could help them in solving. And during the design thinking workshop, it was crucial that this method is all about the needs of institutions and organizations outside the university. They expressed some of their concerns, some of their needs, problems. And then we collected this. We had kind of database with organizations together with their problems. And we tried to transfer them into some research questions. And we invited students and their supervisors to help the institutions solve the problems. So within the thesis, within their projects, the students helped external institutions, organizations. They were working at such trifecta. There was a student, there was a supervisor from academia, and there was stakeholder representative working on the project. It was so students had this idea in their minds that they are doing something not in vain, something not that will be put apart, but somebody will have use of it. So it was, this is very important aspect of this idea of this project, that you do something that somebody can have a real use of. So what was it was very interesting. People, students, for example, from informatics, they did some projects on such trips in a small town near Poznan. They wanted to make a trip, so it was like catching, a bit like catching Pokemons, that tourists can go and read the QR code, and they have some content. Students of social promotion, they did such promotional movies for a school that has students with special needs. There were some campaign done for shops. There were different projects, social shops, of course. There were different projects that helped to solve some problems. This model is very interesting, and we are continuing now at other faculties, because it doesn't have to be thesis, which is worth emphasizing. It can be a project. At Faculty of Sociology last semester, we had such a project that students doing their exercise in some social methods of diagnosing, they were diagnosing particular organizations from one district of Poznan. So they had NGOs, they had greenhouse, they have small organizations, bigger organizations, and within their projects they were diagnosing how people from outside see these organizations. So it was very interesting for them to get to know how they are perceived, socially perceived. What are the, of course, every model has challenges, and social science shop also does. For sure, the challenge in the model is the time. Organizations need solutions very quickly. They expect to have the reports, for example, immediately. And students, especially if it is a master thesis or BA thesis, it takes some time. And this model is also, although it is, of course, valuable, socially useful, and has lots of positive aspects, it's a bit more engaging than just writing a thesis, on whatever topic, because it needs time to meet. It's engaging on both sides. Organization has to point a person who will be contact person for student, and who will deliver some information, some data. And student and supervisor, they also have to meet to exchange, to evaluate the progress. So it is a bit more demanding than, let's say, normal version. So these are the challenges we should be aware of. So these were the main projects I wanted to share with you, but they're not the only one, of course. We also work. I would like also to present a special report. One of my colleagues I have the pleasure to cooperate with, She invented such a report, Engaged University. So this is not a traditional report on the timeline, because we also have this special report of rectors that on the timeline we present what was done during last academic year, but we also present engagement of our university in solving and addressing some social problems, how we address, for example, sustainable development goals, how we influence the city, how we influence the people in our region, and how does our research help to solve some problems with nature. So this is such a new way of presenting research activity of university. What we also maybe did, what is worth mentioning, is Academy of SDGs, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Last year I had the pleasure to conduct such a project that we presented engagement of our researchers in those issues. So researchers of different fields presented how they address the SDGs in their activities, in their research and educational activities. So engaged university, there are some challenges to implement this idea because it needs such a holistic frame. Very often people at the universities are engaged, they have their own contacts, they do the research together with different institutions, with organizations, with people, and it is going on, and it is very valuable, and it is value of promoting this, worth promoting. But what also needs to be done is to, from the top of university, of the leaders, to create such frames, holistic frames, also in strategy, in orientation, to think what impact we want to achieve, what are the defining success factors, yes, how we measure that we are an engaged university. We need units that will follow the trends, because as I told at the beginning, there are universities, the leading flag universities of the world, they have very interesting programs which are worth following and inspiring and exchanging this knowledge. And what is also challenged, as I told you at the beginning, is to have the tools and the solutions that will help us, I mean universities, to identify the social needs that are around our universities. What are they and how we can help? And this constant evaluation, self-evaluations to check ourselves and to check how we develop, how we achieve the goals, and if we are making progress and development. So it was the short presentation of AMU idea of engagement. Thank you very much. And of course, if you have questions, please feel to ask them and contact me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for sharing your experience. And I think that it's really wonderful that we have this three different universities, but I think we have something in common, yeah, and we share our experience of on the one hand of the cooperation with the municipal, but also we started to talk about the role of universities for local communities, for civil society sector. And thank you very much, Anna, for raising these important questions. Yeah, how we can measure our impact and really role of universities, and if it's successful or not, this partnership between university and the city. And also for me it was great to hear about the different participatory practices, and also like participatory research and engaging of the local community for the research development and understanding the needs of the society in a city. Yeah, thank you very much for your for all speakers for your presentation and sharing your experience. Now I would like to ask you several questions, and then we will also ask our participants if they have any questions, and we can start the discussion. Yeah, to start the discussion, I would like to ask all our speakers. So you share your experience and how the cooperation between university and the municipal university and local community is developed. But I also would like to ask you what is the ideal scenario of the cooperation between university for local development, for sustainable development of the city, and what the ideal role for university of the academia on based on your experience and your view on this process. Yeah, if you would like to answer first, just turn on the mic. So what the ideal scenario of the role of university in the city today? Yeah, please, Susann. And then Dmytro. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. I think, well, one starting point would be the last presentation that we heard that underlined that cooperation between universities and administrations can be more project-oriented and more structured than it is the case, for example, in Frankfurt Oder. But of course, there's also the difference: small university with short links and short paths and very close cooperation, and a big university, but more structuration and more a better structured approach of linking different parts of the university and the city administration would be helpful, because I have the impression that our approach is very much dependent on individuals who want to cooperate. But there are so many resources on both sides that could be of mutual interest, and people just don't cooperate because they don't know about the value of cooperation. They don't know their potential partners. They don't know about their potential contribution and so on. So more structuration and a project like or a project approach, like we saw it in this presentation of the AMU, would be definitely helpful, and maybe not the ideal scenario, but a better one than our slightly erratic style of, well, sometimes asking the city, okay, what do you want, how can we have, and very often, unfortunately, not. Yeah, maybe that's my first point.
Yeah, thank you. Dmytro?
Thank you very much. Well, Susann actually mentioned what I was going to mention also. I totally support what I was also thinking about. Do we actually need to search for ideal scenario? Because when we're talking about ideal scenario, maybe we will just dive into the world of fantasies and we will not notice the actual work that is being done.
You know, there is this image of Gullivers. Every Lilliput brought a small piece of thing in order to tie this Gulliver up. So I think that we all unite together. For example, we are working with our cities to develop, to build the potential of our students and professors. For example, our students write their diplomas. We don't want them to write on topics that are not useful. Historians, ecologists, economists, we would like them to solve those issues which are necessary for the entire city. We hope that it will be like a string which like a strand which will all together help us develop. As what Susan has said, we need to structure our work. We need to have a systemic approach. What is also important is to remove those distractors that deflect our attention from cooperation between the city and the university. Because, you know, I told you about different events that we are organizing, but to tell the truth, the mayor of our city was not present because, of course, now he's busy trying to find the city for the trying to find the money for the city to get through the winter. However, cooperation with the medium management, such as deputy mayors or other managers at a lower level, this cooperation is fruitful. They come to us, they find new horizons for development. They see how they can develop this cooperation between the university and the city. So there are those destructive elements which we need to remove. It is quite possible to do. We need to find people who are really interested in contributing to our development. And of course, we need to widen this range of stakeholders, local government, universities. These are not so there are a lot of people who would like to contribute to our cooperation. However, there are also businessmen and businesswomen, active citizens. In any city, there are active citizens. Those people who would like to do something good. And the city and the university shall have these people the opportunity to take part. That is why what I want to say is that we don't need to develop ideal scenarios. So we just need to get to work. Thank you so much, Dmytro.
Yeah. And Anna, do you have something to add?
Actually, I agree with Dmitry. There's, I think, no ideal scenario, but it's worth to strive for development, maybe, and to always check what else can be done. Not to stay satisfied with what is being done, but to try to find new areas that can be developed, and to network and to share knowledge, because we don't have ideal scenario, as Amu and last time we have such an experience. We are trying to get the accreditation. There's ACEU accreditation institution that gives accreditation on engaged universities. So we did this self-evaluation form, and it gave us really such a good perspective what needs to be developed, especially in this administrative aspects, the legal procedures that we need to be developed. So I think this is worth remembering, that we have to have it in mind that development is a constant process and it's not done once forever.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. No ideal scenarios, but do the best you can for developing this cooperation. Thank you very much. And maybe somebody from our some questions from our participants. So now, if you have a question, or if you'd like to ask or comment presentations of our speakers, or share your experience, please, now you can write your question in the chat, or raise your hand, and we will give you opportunity to ask question if we have any questions, if you have any questions. Якщо у вас є питання, ви можете написати їх в чаті.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat or raise your hand, and we will give the floor over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody.
Yeah, thank you very much to everybody, really, for these really insightful inputs. And there's a lot to work on, I think. And quite a crucial question is, what are the indicators to measure engagement of an institution? Like that would be like a concrete question to Anna, in the sense, okay, you were working on this self-evaluation form about the certified engaged university. What were the questions there? That would be interesting. And if you could also name again this format and who is doing it actually generally, that would be interesting. And the other more global question also to everybody would be what is quite an decisive, I think, aspect, how the university as a local institution is positioning itself also in the communication of portraying itself as an open institution that belongs to the citizens as well. So how is it working in your different institutions that the citizens of the city see the university not as some distant ivory tower that is not connected at all to the local context, but that it is an open institution that is approachable, that there is knowledge that can be used also for the local context. And yeah, these kind of questions that are more global ones would interest me, but how you realize it like in your concrete cases would be really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Actually, you asked the question that I also have there. So we have two questions. On the other one side is how to measure, this cooperation, or if they are succeed or failure, and what indicators are you using for measuring it. And next question is a more global one, as Stefan said. It's the role of the university as an open institution and the cooperation with the citizens, and the role as to empower citizens and citizenship. Probably we can start from Anna, because Stefan also asked Anna to start, and then Susanna and Dmytro or Yulia.
Okay, so I just typed into chat box the name of the accreditation institution, Accreditation Council for Entrepreneurial, this is very difficult word for me, engaged universities. You can apply either for one of these aspects or both. We decided to apply for engaged university accreditation. We will see if we get it. Keep your fingers crossed. But it was really interesting experience, as I mentioned before, because this self-evaluation form, which is available at their website, is very structured, and it starts from orientation and strategy, how this engagement idea is put into university documents, if the goals are defined, and with for example, we as university, we have some goals, but we don't have defined, for example, deadlines. So we see it as the open process, but the ideal, talking about ideal scenario, is to have also deadlines and indicators of success. I think the number of projects done in research, in education, and transmission can be such an indicator, but what they also ask for example, is how the staff profile reflects the idea of engagement. How, what is important, what are the incentives and rewards for being engaged? How it is divided among the research staff, administrative staff also, and students. What are the incentives and rewards, for example? Do we have structured systems? As AMU, we have it for researchers for sure, but for example, for administrative staff, less. So I think each of, so it was really very, teaching and educative to go through this process, because it clearly showed us what are the fields that need to be developed. So even if university doesn't have a plan to apply now or doesn't feel ready for the process, I think if universities are thinking of developing the idea of being an engaged university, it's definitely worth going through, through this document, because it really makes, I think Susanna also said this, that from the chaotic individual actions that are very important, because once I was listening to such a seminar about engaged universities, and I agree of one speaker said that very important is what is going on peripheries, that not only that individuals are doing this cooperation, are creating this environment of mutual benefits. This is important, but it also should be definitely supported by the by the leaders, by the documents, by the procedures, and by the legal frames. So this particular form really gives you very well picture of your own activity and what is done good and what needs improvement. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Susanna, do you want to?
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Stefan, for raising that issue of open universities, citizen universities, and things like that. Of course, this is a very attractive model because we all wish to have closer cooperation, more transfer, and also more impact from our research into the society that surrounds us, and that of course has to be the place where our universities are located. However, there are some problematic aspects that I would locate rather in the realm of the habitus, following Bourdieu, which renders it a little bit difficult. So maybe Viadrina and Frankfurt Oder are particular examples of that problem. But here it is very obvious that the university is a rather different or a rather differentiated part of the city, and that is usually not part of most citizens' lives. That the university is rather seen as something that is foreign to the city, more or less. That might be the case or it might be part of the problem that for many decades during the GDR times, there hasn't been a university in Frankfurt, and still it feels as if it wouldn't be natural to have a university here to many citizens. This might be a different case in Ostroh, I think, and in other peripheral regions. But however, to close that gap between citizens and the university is extremely difficult, I would say, the smaller and the more peripheral region is, or a city, and it can be closed, of course, if you have many approaches to include citizens, and that means that the pure academic discourse has to be brought down to what people are interested in and what they do see in their day-to-day lives. So one example from my studies and my projects here is that this survey which we conducted, or which we conduct actually on the smart city development, of course deals with many terms like digitalization and smart lights on the streets, smart streets, things like that, where normal people often can't really associate concrete ideas and things with. So this is rather, and it's also, I mean, it uses strange terms and it uses a rather academic language. And then we had the pretest, and in our pretest, I asked representatives from the administration to do that pretest and to give me a feedback. And they all told me, you know, people in Frankfurt are not stupid, but just come on, you only have this academic language, you understand it, and it makes sense for you to put many words into one long sentence, but people just don't want to read it like that. So start to translate. And if you cannot do this translation process, then ask someone for you to translate. But this is really a thing that we have to consider as important, and there's no hierarchy or no better language or worse language or something like that. There's no valuation in it, but we have to translate, we have to explain what we are doing, and we have to explain what we want people to tell us. So we have to find a common language. I think this is extremely important in bringing the university to the city and opening our doors, etc. And then we can see where we can differentiate, where we can continue with our academic habits and academic language, and where we have to radically bring it down to the day-to-day situation of people. And this is difficult, most difficult for us as academics, less difficult for the people around us, but we have to do this translation process. And I think starting from that point that I want to make an impact, if I want to make an impact, I have to learn the language of the day-to-day situation and society here. This could be a good starting point to start with the open universities. But speaking for Frankfurt, it's still a long way to go, I'd say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing this. I totally agree, you know. Yeah, and feel that I support every word that you said. Yulia, can you share your point of view and maybe something from my experience?
Так, пані Марії.
Yes, thank you for giving me the floor. I would like to make several comments on what Stefan, Susann, and Dmytro said. Yes, we were talking about the ideal scenario of cooperation and those things that could help establish fruitful cooperation. Of course, it's a constructive dialogue, but I agree this will be conducted in a language clear for both parties, because when we are talking in more academic style, using this academic speech, sometimes in university we don't even notice that we talk like that to each other. But then you start talking to a school teacher or to the employees of other organizations who are not used to this type of speech. Is very difficult sometimes, really, to find some common ground. Yesterday, I had a meeting with teachers about their professional excellence, and it feels like we kind of understand each other, but sometimes the terms that are too difficult, they do not allow us to find the consensus quickly, although we are very interested in it. As to the openness of the universities, I think Mr. Dmytro will continue about the project Open University. It would be unfair if I will be talking about his project. That what I want to say, that being open to the community, to all the citizens of our amalgamated territorial community, starts when we offer them excursions on the university, around the university. We invite them to university museum. We have no exposition dedicated to 445 years of higher education in Ukraine, as Ostroh Academy is the first university of the Eastern Europe, and we are very proud of it. And on our tours, we see people like starting from school children of the first year and continuing with pensioners. So we have a lot of visitors, not only from our city, but from other cities and from abroad. And on this tour, people have possibility to feel the university. And lately, we had a tour from preschool children. And can you imagine the small children in this new building of the university? And this university is very impressive, even for high-rank officials, and for children, it's really something very interesting, very emotional. And we're seeking for dialogue and resolutiveness and openness, and how we can evaluate the successful of our cooperation by some minimal wins by the number of projects implemented. For example, Ostroh has won in the national competition Youth Capital of Ukraine, and it was far ahead of Lviv, Odessa, Lutsk, Chernivtsi, these big cities, and our city with 15,000 inhabitants managed to demonstrate that quality cooperation and ability to listen to each other, to understand each other is of crucial importance, and that we are able to move forward in implementing our goals. And also there is a psychological moment we are trying to avoid showing off ambitions or trying to prove something. We really need to hear each other, to understand each other. We need to be able to make a step forward, to compromise, and sometimes maybe forget a little bit about your own interests and ambitions. But when we understand that we have a common target, we want to develop our city, our community, our country, we are able to move forward all together. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dmytro, the floor is yours. Yes, I would like to add to what my colleague Yulia mentioned. The first question was regarding the measurement of the effectiveness of our cooperation. I would point out two things. First one is the strategy of Ostroh Academy. As I said, we have a separate paragraph in our strategy. It is called City and University, and we have some operational targets aimed at intensifying of cooperation of city and university. Our strategy is not formal. Each year, our university sets up the priority areas for strategy implementation, and we have a person responsible to follow up the implementation of the strategy. It means there will be a report on how on what the progress is, and this is how we measure the effectiveness of our work. And second point, Anna told us about social reporting in the university. We also have this in our university. We're not very experienced, frankly speaking, but it's in this, but it's very good tool to measure our effectiveness of our interaction with the community. So the presentation of the social report was a public event. People's deputies, the representatives of city council, of city authorities were invited, and it was useful for us as well because we were able to take some self-reflection, and we were really able to see what kind of influence on the community we have. I'm talking now from the position of university, how university influences the community. And of course, the self-analysis allowed us to understand what could be the further directions of our development. As to the Open University, Ms. Yulia said it's my project. It's she said it's like my child, and I could say it's our child. And if the husband of Miss Yulia understands, I hope he will understand what I mean. And it's literally our own child because he is also the professor of Ostroh Academy, and we have really very good cooperation. And he graduated from our academy, and I even can write something in Messenger to him at midnight, and he will reply to me, and we will solve some questions. When the pandemic hit, we switched off to online, and we understood that many people are in self-isolation. They have psychological discomfort, anxiety, and we decided to implement the project of public lectures with different topics. The first lecture was how to survive the lockdown, and it was about the psychological aspects of self-isolation. We understood that a lot of people take care about their work, or they worry about their work because either they're not working or they're working online, and it's kind of difficult. We also made a lecture on labor legislation, and then we had more and more lectures as it went on. We invited experts. We were spreading the information through the Facebook groups and other social medias that exist in our city, groups that exist in our city, publics. And we had lots of work before our meeting. I was a moderator of the lecture of Joseph Zissels, and he was talking about the waves of pandemic. And I had to go to this event, so I don't know what will be the next wave, but there will be a recording of this lecture. So a couple of years ago, together with our city, we established a festival, founded a festival, Ostroh Renaissance. Because of the pandemic, the last 2 years, we were not able to hold this festival, but I think we will do it in the future. So there is a fortress in Ostroh, and this festival takes place near the castle, near this fortress, and there are master classes, public lectures. We invite historical reconstructors, and we engage the community of the city to celebrate the culture in our city, and it's in spring, and we celebrate spring. And you know, our university is very much connected with the Renaissance culture, and we're trying to carry it through.
Sharing your ideas. Maybe we have other questions from our participants.
Якщо можна, Марія, я лише от те, що я забув сказати, насправді.
If I may, I would add a couple of words. As far as I understand, we have here representatives of Ukrainian universities. If you are trying to establish the cooperation between university and city, you have to start with something like a social report if you're not doing this yet. And you will see how much you will do for the city and how much city is open to what you want to do. And I was very happy to see the presentation of Anna, and thank you very much for your links. I didn't know about this organization. We will check it. And you know, measuring the cooperation is very important.
For this comment, I think it's can be also a good hint for other universities, and I think that now it's time to end our discussion, and maybe our speakers have something to something to say for us, or maybe the last thing that you want to add. Please share with us. I would like to start from Susann, because I know that she needs to leave in several minutes. So if you have to add something or to say something for us to the end of the discussion, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. Just very briefly, I learned a lot today. It was very, very interesting, and I'm already thinking about a better structuration and better project approach for transfer and cooperation projects, and I'd be very happy to continue this discussion and to learn more, in particular from the AMU. Maybe Stefan, this would be a task for you to bring us together once again. Yeah, and I think it is extremely important for all of us to to think more intensely about the question what our societal impact is from the academia, not to stay in these rooms here with all books behind us, but to go out and to see whether we can contribute to the development of our neighborhoods, more or less. So I'd be happy to meet you again, and well, maybe let's share or start a project together, something about transfer, of bringing people together, networking, things like that. So I'd be happy to continue this debate, and thank you. Unfortunately, I have to go very soon now, but thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much for your participation and sharing with us. I think it also was quite interesting and crucial for us to understand the role of the university and the experience of Frankfurt. Maybe Anna, would you like to add something or?
Yeah, I totally agree with Susanna. It was a really inspiring meeting, and thank you for organizing this, because it gives us this another opportunity to meet and to start new networks and to think of future projects. So I'm also very eager to continue to cooperate, especially as we have some connections with Viadrina there is, and of course Ostroh is also very welcome. Welcome. So let us think about future common projects. Maybe we can start something. So thank you very much for organizing this.
Yeah, thank you for participation. I would say that if we will get more cooperation between universities and our cities, it would be really great. And Dmytro or Yulia, would like to add something? Would you like?
Так, дуже дякуємо вам за запрошення.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for inviting us. It was an excellent and very interesting event. It is very useful. This discussion is very useful today. Dmytro has said that my husband is deputy mayor. So believe me, the synergy and integration between local government, local administration, and the university lost 24%. The rector of our university and head of the local administration joked that we are the example, that our capital is the example of this synergy and how we can build a dialogue in order to achieve positive results. So I'm very grateful to Tatiana, who found us through publications of our events at the official website of our university. It was a pleasure to take part in this event, and I really, really hope that this is the start for productive cooperation, because we all have a lot of areas where to develop. We have a lot of energy and inspiration to tackle issues which are very relevant today as for inhabitants of our city and for representatives of the universities. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yulia. Now over to Dmytro. On behalf of Ostroh Academy, I would like to thank you as well. It was an interesting discussion. I'd like to say that cooperation between the city and the university is, in my opinion, a very important question, especially for Ukraine. I know, I'm totally persuaded that we do a lot of positive steps in this direction. Ostroh University is the example of how the university and the city can cooperate. Otherwise, if we do not cooperate, we are doomed. We won't be able to achieve positive results when it comes to cultural, social, and economic development. The most important is that this cooperation is developing. When I joined the Ostroh Academy, I heard a lot of jokes from the local inhabitants that academia is more like Vatican. So you have your campus, which is cordoned off, you wear those cloaks, but now I no longer hear those jokes because of the university and the city has become closer. We are open to cooperation with all of us, with all our colleagues who are present at this seminar today. We welcome you. We invite you to visit our beautiful city of Ostroh, because you can see our history and you can see the future that we all aim to achieve. Thank you so much for the discussion. Thank you so much, Dmytro. I would like to say that we made the first step for cooperation. We contacted Maxim Vokartsev.
Thank you, Susann, for participation. Susann tell us goodbye now. І ми почали комунікувати з Максимом.
And we started talking to Maxim Karpovets. There is an initiative organization, and my organization and the Center for Urban Studies, as well as Viadrina University, And I hope that we will be able to send you a letter with description of our project, and I hope that our cooperation will strengthen.
Say something for us for the ending of our discussion?
Yes, from my side, maybe very shortly. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm super thankful to everybody contributing, to the panelists, also of course to the audience, and to the translators, to the interpreters, actually making this possible here today. And a special thanks also to Maria, who was really straight away ready to go to take over the moderation, and you did a great job. So thank you very much. Only one small thing before I give the word to Olena, who has some advertisement as well for our next event. If you want to get to know more about Ukraine Calling itself as a capacity building for civil society organizations, but also for universities, just check out our website. I will leave the link here in the chat. Yeah, thank you for this evening.
Yeah, thank you for this great event, and Olena.
Thank you, Maria, and also I would like to thank for everyone today, for the speakers and for the moderation and for translation, of course, and also for our some technical support and coordination of the event. And I would like to announce the next event, which we will do in 2 days, and like on Thursday, so the day after tomorrow, and it's a masterclass, which I will send in the link to the chat as well right now. It's the masterclass about fundraising for civil society, where we will talk about the practical issues and different things related to fundraising and crowdfunding, and how it can be done, and also within the civil society. And the event actually will start at 10 a.m. Kiev time or 9 a.m. Central European time. Thank you, and give the word back to Maria.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would like to say thank you for our speakers and for all of us who participated in this event. And thanks for Ukraine Calling and SADAS for really initiative and the organization of this event. I think that it's really important topic, and the university today, for the town, for the city, it's really plays, I think, crucial role. And I hope that in Ukraine, in Germany, in Poland, and other countries, it became more and more important to encourage universities to take part in the local development and creating not just intellectual and educational events or projects, but also to become really actors of change for local community and empowerment of local community and engagement of local community to our city life. Yeah, those. Thank you very much. I hope that after this event, you will cooperate more with the university and the municipal, and also between each other, and hope it will be start of the new project. So you can contact our speakers for further questions, Ukraine Calling or SADAS or Center for Urban Studies. Yeah, welcome to the next events. You can watch on Facebook, Ukraine Calling, SADAS. Welcome. Yeah, thank you very much. Have a nice evening and fruitful week. Yeah, thank you.